Yo guys, what's up? Axon back, and you know what we're doing today? Another tier list, another update, right? And today we got Ayato. Now, first off, we gonna be doing, of course, the top 10 through 10 through 20. And for disclaimers, before we get into this video, because I always see comments, and I saw it with my last video, but these are always updated to the Spiral Abyss. I like to take into account Spiral Abyss multiple times in every tier list because the reason I do a tier list every single update is because the Spiral Abyss changes so much that, you know, it's kind of hard to say this character is the best character in the game or this character is the top 10 character in the game when the Spiral Abyss keeps on changing up. So keep that in account, and none of these tiers are ordered. None of the characters in the tiers are ordered is what I meant to say, and let's get into it. Alright, starting off with the Traveler, I got him A. He's already, like, he's fine, he's alright, but, you know, he's not anything too special. Next up, I got Ayato. Now, a lot of people already know how I feel about Ayato from my previous tier list, but I think he moves down to the 10 through 20 spot because the Spiral Abyss isn't like the best for him right now. A lot of characters with shields, a lot of characters who don't really do good with geo damage. So I just don't think Ayato is in the top 10 spot right now. Last Spiral Abyss he was, when he was like literally one of the best units to bring into the Spiral Abyss with the giant Geo Dragon. He was literally probably one of the most useful DPS in the game at the time, but you know, now he's still 10 through 20, just not top 10 in my opinion anywhere. Xinglang, one of the best characters in the game, support or DPS, whichever way you kind of want to use her, but kind of both the same. Xinglang, a great character in my opinion, deserving of top 10 spot. Yujin, she is a very niche character, right? I don't think she has like 10 through 20 value and S tier value, just not the value enough to push her up there because of how niche she is, and there's not a lot of auto attacking characters, so that's why I don't put her anything above S minus tier. Goro's another character I am moving down, mainly because Ayato is not in this top 10 through top 10 spot, so Goro obviously moves down. He was usually at the 10 through 20 spot, but right now he's S tier because Geo DPS are not that good in the Spiral Abyss, but Goro is still a great unit, deserving to be 10 through 20 spot. Just currently in the Spiral Abyss, not that great. If the Geo DPS are not like doing well in Spiral Abyss, Goro's not gonna do well either. So that's how, in my opinion. And you know, you might be saying, oh, Goro only works with good Geo characters, right? Well, to me, Goro is kind of like Geo Bennett, right? Geo Bennett without the healing, and a C4 he can be healing, but we're not talking about C4 Goro. We're usually talking about C1 through C3 characters for 4 stars because that's more realistic and more free to play realistic, and that's what I kind of do for these tier lists. I don't like to look at 5 stars at C6 because realistically no one has a C6 a 5 star, and I tend to look at them at more of a C0 perspective, right? So Goro, I just don't think he's that useful, but his value, like in his niche, he is a great unit in his niche with Geo TPSs. Zhao, I'm unsure if I want to put him in the 10 to 20 spot. He got a new artifact set. He is definitely better than he was before, but I don't know if I should put him in the 10 to 20 spot because, you know, it's still Zhao, right? He still has his issues. Animal is good in the Spiral Abyss, but for right now I have an S tier, maybe a 10 to 20 spot, but I have to see at the end of the video. Ganyu, definitely top 10 character. Crow, great in this new Spiral Abyss. Crow's is good in general. Chongyun, S minus tier. Chongyun, another great unit. Wait, no, Chongyun A plus tier. I'm moving Chongyun to S minus tier just because we have these Abyss Heralds. There's so many Abyss Heralds in the Spiral Abyss, and Chongyun is great if you can give it to a auto attacking DPS, or you can use Chongyun as just someone to apply cryo. Cryo characters in the Spiral Abyss are just great in my opinion. Ayaka, what I've been saying this whole entire time. Cryo DPS are great in the game, great interactions, great reactions. Ayaka definitely deserving a top 10 spot. I used to underrate her, and now I don't anymore. Rosaria, S tier. She's also great for cryo and physical teams. Rosaria, just great in general. Gives you extra crit. Just, I can only say her praises. She's really good in the game. Sucrose, my favorite character in the game. A lot of people think I'm high on her, but you know, she is great. Definitely a 10 through 20 character. She is one of the best characters in the game for animal application. You might say, oh, Venti and Kazuo are better than her. Yeah, I do agree with that. But Sucrose offers more than just animal. She has a great artifact set that goes for all animal characters, right? She can give you extra elemental mastery, and she can suck people in, right? Pause, but you know, Sucrose is just a great character in general. Even though she's not as good as someone like Kazuha, to even compare her to Kazuha is a compliment in itself. Yoimiya, S tier character. I can see the argument for her to be in 10 to 20 with this new artifact set, but just this Spiral Abyss isn't for her. Maybe if we get a Spiral Abyss mainly that works well with Yoimiya, I think she's deserving of this S tier 10 through 20 spot. But for right now, not that. I don't think she deserves a 10 through 20 spot, just because, you know, it's kind of like not the best Spiral Abyss for her. Official, I give her S tier, right? I give her S tier. Yeah, that's fine. Official, she's fine. I think she's kind of getting, how do I say this, undervalued. Not undervalued, but I think she's losing her value over time, just because we get so many electro characters in this game, especially since we're in Inazuma. She's just not the best, and she is really good, but she is not what she used to be. She used to be like a top 10 character in the game before. Now I think she's still good. Just when you have Raiden in the game and characters like that, and you have characters like Yaimiko, it's kind of hard for Official to be that special anymore. Alloy B+, I don't think she's that good. When you look at all the other Cryo characters, they're just better options in my opinion. Someone made a great argument in one of my comments, and I do read the comments, so comment if you want to, and I will definitely read to them and respond to them as many as possible. But when I read these comments, I come in with an open mind, no matter how outlandish the take is. And someone made a great point of Alloy just not being a good character at all, because every other Cryo character is just a better option, and I agree with that. And the only way to use Alloy is with like a Sucrose or a Kazuha or a Venti, and if you really think about it, you're not using her in those comps or those teams, so just kind of useless. Lisa, A tier, kind of good with physical teams. That's kind of all I have to say. Albedo, great character, S tier, arguably a 10 through 20 spot, just because how easily you can apply Geo, and applying Geo is kind of getting more important nowadays, but you know, not that important for right now. Beto, I think she kind of goes down to S tier, just because I think there's kind of a little bit better characters right now in the game. Bennett, definitely a top 10 character. Bennett, arguably one of the best characters in the game, arguably the best character in the game in my opinion, so Bennett deserves a spot. Jean, I give her a 10 through 20 spot, probably like the second best healer in the game, right behind Bennett, just because of her utility. She is kind of like a Swiss Army knife of a character. And next up is Xingqiu. Xingqiu, definitely a 10 through 20 top 10 spot. Xingqiu is great. Kind of makes Hu Tao and like national Raiden comp work. Right, he is like a staple in some of these great teams, and without him, a lot of the characters wouldn't work. Mainly Hu Tao. Hu Tao would not be as good as she is if Xingqiu did not exist, in my opinion. Shenhe, probably 10 through 20 spot just for right now. Everyone knows I'm really high on Shenhe. I think she deserves the 10 through 20 spot, is because mainly Cryo is so important in the Spiral Abyss that having a Shenhe to make her crowd DPS even better, it just works so well in this new Spiral Abyss, and especially because she has the extra utility of lowering physical res, just great in general. A very like niche but good niche character. She is pretty much like Goro, but like for a whole element like Cryo and physical. Keqing, S- tier. If only she had more damage, she'd be more useful, or more used and more liked, but you know, just not how it is anymore. Kazuha, definitely a top 10 character in the game, arguably one of the best characters in the game. You know, Kazuha just great overall. I think we kind of all know how great he is. He is pretty much, I believe, the best animal character in the game. I think he is the best animal character in the game, in my opinion. Just great. Has surpassed Venti and Sucrose and pretty much most of the animal element in general. And one of the best characters in the game. If he ever gets a rerun, I do suggest you pull for him. Barbara, I think she is an A tier. Maybe if you consider C6, she can be like, I don't know, up here, but just not that useful in my opinion. You know, A+. You know, she still has utility when you get the fight the pyro like flowers. Kujosara, S-. I know a lot of people say, oh, why do you give the benefit of the doubt of Bennett being C1, but you don't give the benefit of doubt to Kujosara? Mainly because Bennett C1 is realistic for most free-to-plays, but Kujosara, you would need her to be, in my opinion, C6 to actually be really good. If she's like C6, you can argue like up here, one of these two spots. But I think C3, she's still not that good. You need her to be C6. Not even, I have her C3. Or I think C2. But she's not that good. She is, you can put a book on like a Ning Wang or like Sucrose that gives you extra, like the Thrilling Tales of Dragons or something like that, and it gives you pretty much an equal boost for what Kujosara does. So I just don't find Kujosara's value that high at these low constellations. Diona, 10 through 20 spot. She is a jack of all trades. It gives you shields, give you healing, doesn't give you damage, but you don't really need that from a support like her. Raiden, definitely a top 10 character in the game. Remember when she used to be like hated, but you know, still one of the best characters in the game. And arguably one of the best in my opinion. Venti. Now Venti, in my opinion, I usually have him in the 10 through 20 range, but I think for this time, I have him top 10. I'm looking right. I know what you're saying. Venti hasn't aged well because we have characters like Kazuha. He's still very good, but with this new Spiral Abyss, they make Venti look really good, and it's kind of hard to ignore the fact that Venti looks super good in this new Spiral Abyss. So it is Spiral Abyss bias because Genshin tends to make the Spiral Abyss make the new characters look good. So I'm adjusting for that and putting Venti at top 10. I don't think he's deserving this for a top 10 spot after the Spiral Abyss, but for this Spiral Abyss, he's deserving the top 10 spot. Once the Spiral Abyss over, he's probably at 10 to 20, but for right now, he's a top 10 character in the game. She goes S- tier. Yeah, S- tier is fine. Now I'm gonna explain why I have her S- tier. She's a very good. She applies power, obviously a great element in the game. I think you kind of need constellations to like a lot. She's kind of like Kujosara, where you need constellations to fully get the DPS out of her. So that's why I kind of have her in the S- tier instead of her putting up here, because you need kind of high constellations to get a really good damage out of her. Toma, I think he's also like a kind of niche character where you need to have a certain team. For me, I find Toma insane value. If I was to like put where I believe Toma is in value, I think he's like right here, an S tier Toma, great value. My Toma's underbuilt and he heavily carries. Like I need him for my team, my Hutao squad. Right? I don't have a Zhongli. I need a Toma badly, so that's why I kind of see Toma as very like a niche but very valuable. I think his value is like right here, but because he's in his niche, I think he's S-. He's kind of like Yanfei, Yujin, that she is kind of in her. These two are kind of the niche. These two are very similar because they're both in the niche. That's how I kind of see them. Yaimiko, S tier. I just don't think she's a top 10 through 20 spot. I just think her energy for her ult and her energy, like the amount of time it takes for her ult to recharge, is just so. The biggest issue about her ult, because Xing Lang I think has around the same time of her ult time up, but Xing Lang has her ult while it's recharging, while Yaimiko is just literally a burst. It like happens in like 1 or 2 seconds and it's over. Xing Lang's burst lasts for a while. It lasts about like half of the time when the thing is recharging. So in my opinion, the amount of time it takes to recharge is just Yaimiko's weakness. If that didn't happen, she could be a 10 to 20 character, but because that exists, I just can't put her up there. Diluc, S tier character. I just think how do I say this, how basic he is, how like he's a very like basic character. He's very simplistic, and I think being so simple kind of makes him good for a lot of teams. He is pretty much, I apply power to my sword, and that's pretty much all I do. Right, so I think Diluc is an S tier spot. I know there's arguments where like, what's it called, Yaimiko, so like Yoimiya do more damage, but like I think Diluc being so much versatile on so many teams, it's kind of hard not to put him here. So that's how I feel about Diluc. Ningguang, I think she's also deserving of S tier. Ningguang just great as a DPS or a support. I use her as a DPS support DPS for my Arataki Ito squad. Ningguang, just a great character, gives you insane damage if you build her right, and she doesn't need that many constellations. I think she only needs a C1 for it to be really good. Klee, I usually have her S tier, but I'm demoting her down. I'm demoting her down to S-. I think Klee's is so clunky. She's kind of already outdated. I don't think this Spiral Abyss is good for her, especially with these Abyss Heralds where you kind of need to move a lot faster, and Klee's so clunky that she kind of suffers in this new Spiral Abyss, so that's why I'm bringing her down. She has insane damage, but just the damage doesn't make up for how clunky she is in this new style abyss. Hu Tao, a top 10 character in the game, very great. Hu Tao, one of the best characters in the game, in my opinion. So that kind of, I think, no, we're missing one more character for our top 10 spot. But this kind of like is 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that's 9 characters. So we only have one more character left on this top 10 spot, and eventually you guys will figure out who it is. So, but Hu Tao, great character overall. Even at C0, I used to think she wasn't deserving of this top 10 spot. But playing her for so long, she's definitely deserving. You can make the argument to she didn't deserve the spot because, you know, we have so many Pyro Abyss Heralds. But I think you can manage around there. Probably like switch her up for the first and second team just to make sure she avoids the Pyro Abyss Heralds. But she doesn't suffer from the issue of like Klee where you're kind of always getting hits. Noelle. Now here we go about Noelle. Noelle, S tier. I've kind of seen why Noelle is so valuable, especially with Goro. I think Noelle is kind of at this tier. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm gonna have Noelle here for now. I do find Noelle very valuable, but I don't know how valuable. I think she definitely has the DPS capabilities of here, but she is considered kind of niche in her. She's very niche DPS, so I don't know if I want to keep her here. Razor right here, just he's good. Just Electro is kind of his biggest hindrance, if I had to say anything. Mona, where would I put Mona? I think I put Mona S tier for right now. Maybe we'll see at the end of this video, but maybe S tier. It's crazy to see how many characters are in the game because like I could have a tier where it's 2 rows. That's never happened in any of my tiers before, and it's crazy to see how far we've come in Genshin Impact where we already have so many characters in the game, and there's a lot of great characters in the game. That's one thing I can say about Genshin. They know how to make a bunch of good characters. Sometimes they're flawed, but there is a lot of good flawed characters. Amber, B+, you know, just very decent, right? Not even decent, she's just like mid. Like no one, you don't want to use her. Like she's there, you can make her like you can optimize her, but why would you? Kokomi, 10 through 20 spot. She's great in this new Spiral Abyss. It's hard for me to, it hurts me to say that because mainly Kokomi is just a very clunky unit. She's kind of what's wrong with Genshin, where you can just like put out a unit that isn't the best and kind of has flaws in her game, but she works so well in the game. She's become so meta. I don't like to use the word meta in Genshin Impact because of like the stigma around it, but you know, Kokomi, she's kind of got justice in these new Spiral Abyss recently, and it's just kind of hard to like put her down because she is a flawed character, but she's in so many great teams. It's kind of hard for me not to put her in the 10 to 20 spot. I might eventually move her down, but you know, I do not prefer to pull for a Kokomi because she is very flawed, and I feel like eventually she will not be in the meta anymore. But what's keeping her in is the meta, and she's great with a bunch of good teams like an Ayaka, Freeze team, like a Hu Tao. She works good on every team, a lot of teams. Just know that Kokomi works good on a lot of teams. It's kind of like easy to be good for Kokomi when you can heal and you can apply Hydro. Great for taser comps and stuff like that, and freeze comps. Chi-Chi, A+, she's solid, just great heals, but just not what you need in the game. Xinyan is everything I love and dislike about this game. Character designs are amazing in this game, but you know, when you have characters who are not properly built and not properly, you know, given a good kit, they kind of suffer in the game. Zhang the Dongli, yeah, top 10 spot. It's kind of funny to see all 3 Archons in the top 10 spot. You know, this is the first time ever I think I've had I think I've had it before, but you know, 3 Archons in the top 10 spot definitely deserve the name. Zhongli, in my opinion, the second best Archon, right behind Raiden, but there's an argument for him to be the best. Zhongli definitely deserving this top 10 spot. Now that we have our top 10 spot rounded, now Ayato has a limited chance of where he can go. Sayu, Probably right here. You're animal. It's kind of hard not to go wrong. Kaya, you go here. Kaya's just very solid in like quick swap teams. Kind of hard to go wrong with Kaya, right? Tartagula, Chowd, 10 through 20 spot, right? All right. Let me make sure I have 10 characters here. I'm pretty sure I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. So 3 more characters can go in here. That means let's figure this out. All right. I think Mona is definitely deserving to be in here. Right there. Yeah. Mona is definitely deserving to be here. So you can tell where I will put Ayato. Right? Eula, we all know how much I love Eula. I'm a Eula main. Eula is one of my favorite characters in the game. Eula definitely top 10 to 20 spot. Best physical DPS in the game, in my opinion. And with Shinhe in the game, it kind of helps her out a lot. Now, time to talk about Ayato, right? Ayato is a great character in the game, and there is a spot missing in the 10 to 20 spot. So you can assume where I could have put him. Ayato is great. He is a character who is pretty much a Swiss Army knife. He kind of is like a DPS version of Jean. He is great at hydro damage, right? He is probably the best person to do so much damage with hydro as a DPS. The best hydro DPS in the game. Not as good as enable as Chowd, but he has a better uptime, right? Chowd can enable better, but you know you have to wait for his E, especially when you have a C0. If you even have a C1, you still have to wait 20 seconds. Ayato can pretty much apply hydro constantly. He can apply constantly have a hydro application a lot longer than a Chowd, so I think he is better in that aspect. I think he is kind of easy to, you know, work around because his ult is also great because it's an off-field hydro applier and it lasts so long. We haven't had a good hydro applier since Xingqiu and Kokomi, right? And Kokomi's E, I don't think it lasts as long as his ult. Ayato's ult lasts for a long time, right? I think I could just use his ult. His ult alone is great for a hydro application. You can literally just use his ult. It doesn't do that much damage, but just the ability to apply hydro is great for teams like Xinglang. You can make an Ayato national team. Ayato, great in general. I have nothing to say but good things. There is a lot of stigma about how Ayato is not that great in the game. This new Spiralib is kind of some issues, but I think he's deserving of 10 through 20 spot. Ayato, I would say he is better than everyone in S tier. Obviously, he is not the most flashiest. He's not the character that is going to do the most damage, but I think he is deserving of the 10 to 20 spot. There is characters who can do what he does better, mainly Chowd, where he enables better, but Ayato has better uptime and, you know, can just enable for a lot longer, and I think that is very valuable. And him being hydro is just great. Ayato's damage is just great. It's kind of hard to go wrong with Ayato, and he is very free to play friendly in my opinion. You just give him like a flute, you give him a good attack sword, and I think you're working fine with Ayato. So that's how I personally feel about a lot of these characters in the game. Noelle, I'm gonna leave her S tier. I feel like everyone's fine here. Noelle, just great damage. There is not that many bad characters in the game, in my opinion. Obviously, I believe there is a difference between A+ tier and A tier and B+ tier. And I know you can say, oh, there's a lot of good characters in the game, and that's why, or you're trying to be like biased and not trying to like give anyone hate. But I think there is a lot of good characters in the game. That's why I have so many. Like, I don't have an F tier. I don't think anyone's that bad. I think Amber is viable. You can use her. Aloy is viable. You can use her, but she's not the best options in the game. So that's how I feel. I hope you enjoyed the video, and leave in the comments what's your top 10 and what's your 10 through 20 spot, and which characters do you think should be higher or should be lower. I read all the comments and I will respond to as many of them as I can, and I always take your comments into account for my next video. And you know, you can be that one person who argued Aloy should be the worst character in the game, or who had convinced me Noelle should have been S tier and not in S- tier. You can be that person to leave that comment, so next time I will read your comment, and I'll give you credit if I can remember comment, and I'll make sure to mention you in the next video. So thank you, and peace out.